So if you saw my last video on the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting, I told you that I was open to changing my opinion if some new information came in. So I did a little bit of research on the internet. I watched a interview with Kyle Rittenhouse's attorney and I gathered some new information. So now I want to let you know how my opinion has adjusted, and also I want to give you a couple of ideas on how to think about this, because if and when this goes to trial, it's gonna be covered. There's gonna be a bunch of trials coming up, okay, that could possibly rock this country. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Joe Pometto, Joe the lawyer. I'm a practicing criminal defense, personal injury, and family law attorney in Pittsburgh, PA. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Free way to support this show. Absolutely free. It lets me know that you like my content, lets YouTube know that you like my content, and it's totally free. Really, sharing this video is the best way to support the show. So most of you are familiar with the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting by now. It was the guy in Kenosha, 17-year-old. He had a rifle, all right? He was surrounded by some of the protesters. Shots were fired, and two individuals were killed and one was injured. This was on one of the nights when the protests were going down over the police shooting of Jacob Blake. So my opinion as far as the two people that were shot by Rittenhouse later on in the transaction stays the same. I think that he's got an extremely strong case of self-defense. Okay, as far as the first incident, my opinion was more up in the air, because when you watch the video, basically what you see is Rittenhouse running, one man chasing him. They end up behind a car. Boom, 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 boom. Multiple shots are fired. Rittenhouse comes back around. All right, and the guy's laying on the ground. Bleeding. He dies. All right. Rittenhouse gets on the phone, I guess, to call a friend, from what I've learned. And you can't really see what happened. That's why my opinion was open in the air, because that video does not tell the whole story, because you can't see what was going on when the shots were fired. So I got some new information. Now, keep this in mind. This is from the defense attorney. This defense attorney appeared on Tucker Carlson. I watched the interview, and he gave his own narrative about what happened. Now, remember, attorneys are trained to do this, right? When a trial begins, and let's use a criminal trial for an example, you have a prosecutor and a defense attorney. The prosecutor is going to get up there first and is going to lay out their version of events. The defense attorney is then going to get up there and lay out his or her version of events. All right. And they're going to be talking. Here's the fascinating thing. They're going to be talking about the same facts, but presenting a different story. Same facts, but two different stories. In fact, this goes on in the news all the time, right? You get Fox News will take some facts and they'll present a version of their story, and MSNBC will take some facts and present their version of their story. They're working from the same facts, but the story that you tell using those facts can be very different. So I just want you to keep that in mind. It's like the Laurel and Yanni. Some people heard Laurel and some people heard Yanni. Everybody's listening to the same video. So this attorney came on and he talked about how Rittenhouse had come down there to help out a business owner who had just had two of his businesses burned to the ground. There's just one business left. Rittenhouse came down there with his rifle to stand guard for that business. All right. Right away, you're looking at this guy. Oh, well, he's protecting a business owner, right? That sounds good. what happens is, according to the attorney, is as the police were moving the mob, the crowd further down the street, it got in front of the area where Rittenhouse was. So apparently, him and the other defenders were there defending this property, and then the mob was sort of moved down near them. So this happens, and again, this is the attorney's version of events. There were some fires occurring. Rittenhouse was trying to put out these fires when himself, collided with the protesters. All right, and from what the attorney said is that these people, Rittenhouse somehow became separated from the group that he was with, and several of the protesters started yelling at him, chasing after him, threatening him. That's an important fact if true. That's an important fact if true, because if there are threats yelled at you, that can play into whether you perceived a physical threat coming. Now, remember what I said about self-defense in the last video. I'll repeat it. All right, in order to use you can always meet an element of force with an equal element of force. All right, but in order to use deadly force, you must have been in fear of death or serious bodily injury, and the use of deadly force had to be immediately necessary. So Rittenhouse now, according to this version of the facts, is running. He's being yelled at, threatened by multiple people. When it gets to the point of the video that you can see, again, check out the last video that I made. There's one guy who apparently was sort of leading the group of protesters who were chasing Rittenhouse, running at, and this is the guy who ends up shot and dies. All right, runs after Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse is running up into this used car lot, and this guy throws looks like a bag full of bottles at Rittenhouse, and then they both end up behind the car. Now, two very important facts play into the self-defense analysis. This attorney said that this was fact-checked by the New York Times. A shot is fired that comes not from Rittenhouse. So a shot is fired when this individual is going back to meet Rittenhouse behind the car. Bang, there's a shot that is fired. It doesn't come from Rittenhouse. Apparently it comes from some of the people who are in the background sort of surrounding the area. So that's another thing. So Rittenhouse is being chased, being threatened, and then as this guy's coming up to him, boom, a shot is fired. Again, that will play into how the jury perceives Rittenhouse, his self-defense defense, because they're going to put themselves into his shoes, right? That's what the defense attorney is going to do as he tells the story, and even as the witnesses get up there and testify, he's going to be trying to put the jurors into the shoes of Mr. Rittenhouse. So he's being chased, threatened, a bag of bottles is thrown at him, then a shot is fired. Here's the most crucial facts. Now, here's the thing that I haven't seen is how it will be proved. Is there a third-party witness, or is it Rittenhouse's testimony only? Because you can't see it on the video. Excuse me, one second. Okay, they said that this guy grabbed Rittenhouse's rifle, and that's when Rittenhouse fired. Here, boom, 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 multiple shots. Okay, if that is the case, if the jury believes those facts as I laid them out, I modify my opinion and say he has a good chance of winning on self-defense. Now, if that evidence is based solely on Rittenhouse's testimony, it becomes a little weaker. However, it would likely still be enough because the prosecution, I don't know if they would have any way to contradict that, okay? Because the guy who grabbed the gun has unfortunately passed away. So if Rittenhouse testifies to the version of events given by his attorney, I think he has a good chance of succeeding on a self-defense, even in relation to that shooting. If you look at a lot of police shootings, in fact, that occur, and there's a lot of videos of this out on the internet, out on YouTube, you will see that that sometimes people who are wrestling, attacking, resisting with the police, what have it, and the person reaches for the police officer's gun, and then the officer will pull it out and shoot the individual. That's generally, I would say, 9 times out of 10 at trial. Now it's got to be ultimately be decided by a jury, okay, unless the prosecution doesn't bring charges. But regardless, 9 times out of 10, that is likely going to be a pretty good self-defense. And this Rittenhouse had additional facts here where he's being chased, he's being verbally threatened, objects are thrown at him, and then a gunshot goes off. All of that playing in him, and then this guy grabs the barrel of his gun. Once somebody grabs your gun, you're basically in an existential struggle, right? And so the law is going to protect the person. The law in America is going to protect the shooter in that way. So I would say the holes with this theory is how the defense proves that this guy actually got a hold of Rittenhouse, right? Because a savvy prosecutor would state that, well, of course, Mr. Rittenhouse is going to say that the gun was grabbed. That's what they always say, okay? But they have no evidence to prove that that's the case besides Mr. Rittenhouse's testimony. And he has every reason in the world to say that's how it went down. And if that's true, this is what I would perhaps argue as a prosecutor. Why did he fire so many shots? So again, one side's going to tell their story, the other side is going to tell their story. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. We likely won't see trial from a year or two until a year or two from now, which is a good thing. You know, let's do these trials after the election. Let's do them after the election. Okay, so that's my opinion. I still think that first instance is going to be more difficult for the self-defense charge, but given those additional facts, I would say he has a good chance, Rittenhouse has a good chance of winning on the self-defense defense. I think he has a great chance on the shootings that occurred after the first transaction, but I think he has a pretty good chance on that one as well. However, I would say it's far from a slam dunk. I mean, this is going to be one heck of a trial. Thank you for tuning in to Joe the Lawyer. I'm here to give you legal analysis on news, legal information, talk about the lawyer life, okay, everything to do with law. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Totally free. Listen, this show will always remain free, but I ask you to support me through a like, through a subscription, or sharing. Really sharing this video with your friends, whoever, put it on Facebook is a great way to promote my show for free and support me. Thank you for tuning in. Joe the Lawyer out.